Well, were you all up at 6:30 this morning and leaping into the kitchen, ready to do magic? You were going to Tim Hortons, okay. Well, Randall has his family up at 6:30 to start what he sees as the family's Thanksgiving tradition. It's as close to how he celebrated Thanksgiving since he was about 8 years old. And on that particular Thanksgiving, he and his brother Kevin and sister Kate, when they were just young kids, were dressed in their best, ready for a 6-hour car ride to their grandparents' house for turkey dinner. Their mom was highly stressed as she attempted to make the perfect cranberry sauce that was her contribution to the family meal. And even with a family of her own, Rebecca never felt good enough. Her husband tries to reassure her and with humor get her through what has become an annual ordeal. Of course, the inevitable happens. The boys run into the kitchen on their way out to the car, bump into their mom. The cranberry sauce goes flying and crashes to the floor and splatters over them all. And the boys have to change, and then they spend the next 2 hours driving around trying to find a store open to buy some more cranberry sauce. It's getting later. The car blows a tire. They end up driving through a fence and abruptly stopping in a field. They then have to walk just over 3 miles to reach a convenience store across to find themselves a hotel. Rebecca realizes they're not going to make it to the family Thanksgiving gathering at her childhood home. But she also realizes that it has never been an enjoyable experience as she has wrestled with her own feelings of inadequacy as a daughter and the constant criticism and anger of her parents. As the children are walking along by the roadside with their mom and dad, they're trying to amuse them on this 3-mile unexpected hike. And so they ask them, well, when you're grown up, what will you do to celebrate Thanksgiving? And the one child, Randall, says, well, if I'm a grown up, I can do anything I want, right? So they say, yes, of course. He says, well, then I'm not having Thanksgiving. That's what his experience of Thanksgiving had been up to that point, watching his mom stress and all of the family sort of dynamics that would happen at the annual event. And as a mother herself now, with the help of her supportive and good-humored and loving husband, Rebecca does in fact create a Thanksgiving, a new way of celebrating it as a family. No turkey, but they scrounge some hot dog wieners from the motel kitchen and roast them on the hotel gas heater in their room with melted cheese and roll them in crushed saltine crackers. They watch a movie together, the only one they could find, Cops 3 or something, in their overheated hotel room where the thermostat is jammed, and they share with one another what they are most thankful for. And so it is those traditions that in this clip that we watched that Randall tries to hold on to as his idea of the perfect Thanksgiving experience that he had as a child on that momentous Thanksgiving day when they stopped doing what they had been doing before and started new traditions. But life has a funny way of changing our expectations or forcing us to look at life and our experience of it in new ways. He learns his adopted mother kept the identity of his biological father, William, a secret his whole life. He has just reconnected with him over the past year, only to discover that William only has a few months left to live. So he's trying to squeeze in a lifetime of memories and moments into that short time. And this is not the Norman Rockwell image of the happy family gathered around the festive table, ready to consume pounds of turkey stuffing and pumpkin pie with lots of gravy. It is a mess, and it's painful. Feelings are hurt, emotions run high as each family member wrestle with their own truths and pain, their own joys and struggles, and gather together for the Thanksgiving meal. But I wonder, isn't that really what every meal is about? Isn't that the reality of being in relationship with one another throughout our lives? Those relationships are never hallmark quality, really. Yes, there are celebrations and joy and memorable occasions, but let's face it, there are also times of hurt and misunderstandings, of words unspoken and insults thrown. There are times of great honesty which can cause pain, but also there can be deception, sometimes made in an effort to protect or keep another safe. Who knows what is the best way of gathering and being family all the time? Times change, people change. Experience brings us wisdom, youth brings us energy and optimism. Partners can be supportive and understanding, and children challenging. But in it all, we learn and grow as we do our best to understand ourselves and one another. Jesus gathered around a table, a Passover table, for a meal with his friends and even an enemy. And in the midst of the conversation, the debate about who was the leader, who was the best, in the discussion of the future, of dreams and hopes, in the sharing of fears and confusion, they sat around a table and broke bread together and poured wine. And most importantly, Jesus offered his blessing, his love, his understanding, his deep hope in each of his disciples' abilities to follow where he had tried to lead them. He knew the challenges of the journey. He knew the suffering that lay ahead for him, but pain often comes out of our love and compassion for one another. Our grief reflects the deep emotions we hold for those who are close and dear to us, especially when they are no longer with us. Life is light and dark. Our faith reminds us to give thanks even in the harsh, painful, or dark times of our lives. But we can't always be joy-filled. In the This Is Us episode following the clip that we watched called Pilgrim Rick, it's their Christmas gathering, and William, Randall's dying biological father, is attending his Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And he shares a memory of years before when he found sobriety. And William says, "I saw a monkey on the street one night, taking me out there pretty late, but this night there it was. It was on a side street, just sitting there in a pool of light under a lamppost. Stared at me a bit, then ran on up between the buildings, but first with this look back at me like, you know." Now I can't even say for sure if it was real, but like him, I knew in general, if you're out on the street at 3:30 in the morning, at some point you realize you made a wrong turn. So I stopped the drugs and learned to tame that wildness from the inside until I could eventually walk in the daylight. That's why when a man knocked on my door one day, I was there to open it. It was my son. I don't know if it was from God or what. I did not expect God's grace. But now I had to open myself to the pain of it, to feel the joy of it. And that's a word we use around the holiday times, joy, because the holidays are hard times. But tonight I'll go back to my son's house, have a meal with his beautiful family. And you, this group of supportive, caring people, you gave me that. And I want to say that I'm thankful. Thanksgiving, or giving thanks, gathered around a table. It's about feeling grateful even in the harsh, painful times, knowing that joy also opens us to pain, just as pain can open us to newfound joy. It's about the grace and blessing of gathering like family around a table, of sharing our lives, our hopes and dreams, and in faith, blessing one another by the gathering. Whether a fine feast of turkey and mashed potatoes, or toasted hot dogs rolled in cheese and crushed crackers. It's about being together and knowing we are a part of a circle of care and concern, a family built on faith, knowing that we are not alone, knowing that what we most need will be provided, and being grateful. It makes me think that a Thanksgiving meal can happen in many different ways. It's not about perfection. It's not necessarily like the Norman Rockwell depiction of happy generations smiling around a bountiful feast, or even Randall's idea of the perfect Thanksgiving that starts at 6:30 a.m. sharp. It might look more like a frozen entree on a TV tray. It might be around a table with empty chairs holding ghosts of people we mourn or wish were able to be with us this year. There may be more tears of pain or resentment shed than tears of joy and laughter. Or it may be just what you hoped it would be. Regardless of its form, it reminds us of the bounty of grace in our lives, the sacred moments when love overrides hate or joy, and joy itself overcomes fear. It's those cracks in our expectations where light shines through with new opportunities or insights or traditions. It begins and ends with grace, God's holy moments that turn extraordinary into extraordinary and bring meaning to our lives, both the joy and the pain of it. Remember that life's too short. Be thankful for what you have and the importance of forgiveness, both given and received. This is us, a people of faith. Thanks be to God indeed. Happy Turkey Day.